this is the story of the Exodus coming out of Egypt, Moses, and you've seen the film The Ten Commandments. Charlton Heston, yeah. So there's Charlton Heston, Moses coming down from the Mount Sinai with the Ten Commandments, and God speaks, and Moses looks down at all his people and says, "Will you be my people? Will you be God's people?" And the people said yes. And at that point, a covenant was created between God and the people of Israel, who are called the Kingdom of Priests and other names, the chosen people. And from that point on, they were chosen, and they've never been unchosen. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing. God makes a promise. He doesn't turn back on it.
Well, Steve, thanks again for meeting with me to discuss what we might call the Jewish question. Certainly your recent book, Why Us? The Jewish Question, looks very much into this whole area. So in this second discussion, we're going to be thinking about what has God said about the Jewish people as a chosen people. And I thought I'd just start, if I may, with a couple of verses from the Gospel of Luke. Yep. So Luke chapter 1, and this is Gabriel prophesies Jesus' birth. It's headed up in this translation. In the 6th month, the angel Gabriel was sent by God to a town in Galilee called Nazareth, to a virgin engaged to a man named Joseph of the house of David. The virgin's name was Mary, and the angel came to her and said, "Greetings, favoured woman, the Lord is with you." But she was deeply troubled by this statement, wondering what kind of greeting this could be. Then the angel told her, "Do not be afraid, Mary, for you have found favour with God. Now listen, you will conceive and give birth to a son, and you will name him Jesus. He will be great and will be called the Son of the Most High, and the Lord God will give him the throne of his father David. He will reign over the house of Jacob forever, and his kingdom will have no end." And the bit, Steve, that I just want to zero in here is verse 32. He will be called the Son of the Most High. The Lord God will give him the throne of his father David, the greatest king of Israel, and he will reign over the house of Jacob, the house of Israel, forever. So I think that's a useful background to our discussion. Tell me a little bit, please, Steve, about the new book and why you wrote it.
Okay, I wrote it for just about everybody, really. It's the Jewish question, so obviously Jewish people are going to be intrigued by it. A Jewish person would pick it up and he will understand, or she will understand, what they've been missing by not really understanding what Christian faith is all about. The problem is that the Jesus that you and I know has never been introduced to the Jewish people. Mm-hmm. The Jesus that the Jewish people have seen over 2,000 years is the Jesus of conquest, of conversion, of aggression. The Crusades and the Inquisition and stuff like that. Pogroms, and that's not right. So that is why Jewish people don't get it. And for them, Christians are the worst enemy. For the Jewish people today, and if you're Jewish out there, you understand what I'm saying, because it was the same with me before I became a believer. But this book will introduce you to the Messiah as he really is as a Jewish person who means only the best for you. Now, the problem has been the church in the past. The church in the past has been the biggest obstacle for Jews to be introduced to Jesus. It sounds weird because that is the whole purpose of the church, is to show Jesus to everyone, which they did, but not to Jewish people. So why did that happen? Well, that's a big subject and it's covered in the book.
Okay. Well, that's succinct, and hopefully that will encourage people to have a look at the book. Okay. Promises then. God's promises to the Jewish people. What are the key promises given by God to the Hebrew people? And can we say that these special promises are still in operation today?
Okay. So God makes a promise with Abraham, who was just an ordinary person living in Ur which is, I think, in Iraq at the moment, and said to him, if you leave everything behind and go to the country I send you, I will make you a great people, and you will be a blessing to the world, and everything wonderful will come from your seed. So Abraham did that. He had the faith to do that. And that was the beginning. He wasn't called Jewish yet because the word Jew didn't come into operation. But when you follow many generations from Abraham to his son and grandson, you end up to a point where they've increased in number from just a handful to about 2 million. So this is the story of the Exodus, coming out of Egypt, Moses, and you've seen the film The Ten Commandments. Charlton Heston, yeah. So there's Charlton Heston, Moses coming down from the Mount Sinai with the Ten Commandments, and God speaks, and Moses looks down at all his people and says, "Will you be my people? Will you be God's people?" And the people said yes. And at that point, a covenant was created between God and the people of Israel, who are called the Kingdom of Priests and other names, the chosen people. And from that point on, they were chosen, and they've never been unchosen. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing. God makes a promise. He doesn't turn back on it.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. Okay. So the outworkings of this, Steve, what does all of this mean in practice? And perhaps, again, this reference, why us? But what does it mean in practice today for Jewish people?
Well, this is it, because it's been probably more of a curse than a blessing. Because if you're going to have a people who are going to represent God, if there's lurking in the shadows someone who hates God, i.e. Satan, then Satan now has a people to target. He can't get at God directly because he's not powerful enough, but he has a people. Okay, so when we follow the history of the Jewish people, from that point onwards, we see Satan trying again and again. We mentioned Haman in the last podcast, all through history, through so many different reasons. The current reason now is a geographical one, which is not even a correct reason, but which we won't go into now. Mm-hmm. But Satan is working through those people maybe on the far left and the Islamists in order to spread an anti-Semitism throughout the world that has gone beyond the borders of this conflict in the Middle East, and it's gone absolutely everywhere in the world. So for Jewish people, they say they're chosen, but what are we chosen for? It is a burden. It's a burden, but God has never turned his back on them. That's why they're still around. Yeah.
Perhaps I should ask a supplementary question then. I'm thinking of Romans 11, but what is the relationship then of the Christians to Israel?
Well, this is an interesting one because all the promises that you as a Christian have was originally given to the Jewish people. So if you just to quote a few scriptures in Jeremiah 31, God promises the new covenant, which is the covenant that Jesus is going to be a part of, to the people of Israel, Judah and Israel, not to Gentiles. This is interesting. So
Jeremiah 31:31.
Yeah. And what happens is that in Romans 11, the chapters that a lot of Gentile Christians don't read, from Romans 9 to 11, it explains this symbol of the olive tree, which is the tree of blessing. And the natural part of the olive tree is Israel. So the blessings that God gave, that Jesus sort of gave to the mankind, was to the Jewish people, but Gentiles are grafted in. So you are grafted in. So you're not a natural branch, but you have the same blessings as any Jewish person who becomes a believer in Jesus.
So there's this reality that we're actually called out and grafted in, out and in. Yeah. I'd love to come back and discuss that separately. So perhaps we'll do that one day, Steve. Okay, could God abandon his chosen people and still be God?
No, he wouldn't be a God that I would know, and he wouldn't be a God that I would worship, because if you think about it, if God abandoned the Jewish people for anything they've done, then you think about what did they actually do? Well, they didn't sort of recognize Jesus when he came. A lot of people didn't, not just the Jews. Earlier days, they went into idolatry, and for that reason they were exiled with the Babylonians, etc. Yeah. Now, when you think of that, so if God is fickle enough to reject them because of that, if I could tell you how the church has behaved, and Peter, the sordid history of the Christian church, the mainstream Christian church, with doctrine wars and persecutions. If God is going to reject the Jews, then the Christians have got no chance.
Quite. So there would have to be a double rejection on that basis. I mean, we talk about the church, don't we? Perhaps we should make a distinction between the institutional church, perhaps, and one might say the true church. Yeah. But again, we'll perhaps come back to that at a later stage. What then would you say in all of this are the implications for you and me about God's chosen people?
The implications is that first different from you than for me, because I am a chosen person, not that I choose to be chosen, but I think the church has forgotten. The church has forgotten, and in fact the church has bought into the propaganda of the world to vilify Israel, to vilify the Jewish people. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done for the church to recognise God's people who are still chosen. A lot of people in the church can't figure out why would God still choose these Jews and also have Christians. He can't have two chosen people. But then God is God. God can do what he likes,
But it's perhaps also then a failure on the part of many Christians to understand the relationship of being grafted in.
Absolutely.
And what covenant we are grafted into. Deep subject.
Cheers.
Steve, thank you very much. There is a link to your book, incidentally, on our Gospel for All YouTube channel. So if anybody's interested in obtaining a copy, they can find a link on our YouTube channel. Thank you very much, Steve. We'll come back and discuss this further. Thank you.
Okay.